we're blessed to have income, but it's definitely a hardship.
And does that put a greater burden on you to provide for the family expenses?
I do.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a preschool director.
Do you know if Michael has tried to apply for other jobs and positions?
He has.
What kinds of things do you know that he's tried to apply for?
I mean, he's applied for managerial positions. He's tried to get supervisory positions. He's tried to improve his path in reffing soccer. He's really good at reffing soccer and has gotten a lot of nods for him to move up and do higher levels other than the lower levels. And he can't until he has this off his background. And along with other things too, it's just an immediate no, without actually looking at the candidate to properly vet him. It's just an immediate pass.
And so these positions that Michael has applied for but been denied, do you know what the single basis of that denial was?
He has a record, something on his record.
This conviction, is that what you're talking
That's the only thing on his record. So
about? And beyond his ability to contribute financially to the family, can you talk about any stress this has put upon your marriage or family generally?
yeah, I'm sorry. There's been a huge amount of stress and strife and turmoil. He's been in a really bad way. He's been in a very bad mental state, just pushing through and trying everything that he can. I mean, it's very low. And so I live with that concern of his being able to stay focused. It's up and down. We've had a lot of support, praise God, a lot of help, but it's still as a provider of the home and as a leader of the home, as he is responsible for, and he knows that it's very, very difficult.
And let me ask you a little more about that. Being Michael's wife for a long time now, what can you tell the court about the effect that this conviction has had and is having on Michael's self-worth and his dignity?
It's a profound effect. As I said, he gets extremely low, and he forces himself to move forward every day, but I know it takes an incredible toll on him. I mean, I was looking at just pictures, trying to post a picture for my daughter's birthday, and you can see, if you actually look at photos of him over the last 4 years.
Mr. Bell.
It's thank you. You can see it, thank you, in his physical, just everything, his stature, his face, his body, his just everything has been impacted, body, soul, and spirit, because of this. And he's working hard. Like, I don't want anyone to think that he's not doing everything that he can to move forward.
And you understand that if the court grants judicial clemency, that's not going to make this situation simply go away.
Correct. I'm aware of that.
He will still have to live with this arrest and the record of a trial on his record.
Yes, it will be there, but there will be, feel like that it will have the acknowledgement of the whole situation from the beginning of this in 2015 till now. It will be a huge, just benevolent act of mercy to see that it's done, it's completed, and it's from start to finish. It's that he's not that he's necessarily deserving as an individual. Like nothing about him makes him unique and special in this circumstance. It's because it's an act of mercy for him to have this clemency, this act of benevolence for him. There's nothing that's going to take away all this, tumultuous experience that we've been through. We have to move on with our lives, and this is going to give us the ability and closure and confidence to say, well, I was heard and I was seen, and I did have some recognition from the justice system.
Well, let me ask you, if the court were to grant judicial clemency and alleviate this conviction, what positive effect do you think that, or direct positive effect do you think that would have on Michael's life, your life, and your family life?
It would be like a boulder off our chest, like a millstone around our neck being released and being able to just shut this door and move on, and just, there's so much more opportunity for him. He has huge giftings and talents, and he wants to serve, and he wants to be part of our community, and he's just the whole situation, and
Let me ask
how
you.
this happened.
Let me ask you one more question.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
No. As the person who knows Michael best in this world, do you believe that he is ready to rejoin society as a fully contributing member to the best of his abilities and under the circumstances of his life?
Absolutely. He is a leader. He has people and friends and community. He needs to contribute. He's a doer. He has to be able to work for the greater good. It's not going to be enough. I mean, right now he's pushing a broom, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that he has income. But even when he's pushing that broom, he's constantly just earbuds in and podcasts and, babe, I heard this and that. And I'm grateful for that time. Like, I'm grateful that he's got that sort of mundane work to be able to still continue to work on himself, but it's not going to be enough, because when he gets in those low points, it's really dark, and he needs to get out. He needs to be able to contribute and move forward, and this is going to help him.
Thank you, Cara.
Yes.
Don't have any questions.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Mr. Valentine, your next witness.
Next, we'll call Michael Fernandez.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand. Just make sure you keep your voice up. And if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Fernandez.
All right, defense.
Michael, we just heard a lot from Cara. Is everything she related accurate from your perspective?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you about, you of course went to trial on this case, to a jury trial, and although you were acquitted of 3 of the counts, you were convicted of this tampering with an evidence count. Okay. With the distance of almost 3 years, more than 3 years at this point from that conviction, can you tell the court how you feel about the jury's verdict?
I disagree with the jury's verdict, but I respect it. It's just one of those things that I'm glad we have a system in place that we can come together and hear somebody out. So I respect the jury's verdict.
Okay. And I want to talk about where you are and where you want to be. So Cara said you were working as a custodian, is that correct?
Yes, I work at Civil Correction Center.
Okay, and how long have you been doing that for?
Since the trials in 3 years.
And has that been a substantial decrease in pay from your previous occupation as a sheriff's deputy?
It has. I was a deputy sheriff and working part-time, traffic and at the church, so definitely. Now I'm making
And have you tried to apply for positions with the afford you greater income and opportunities?
I have
What's been the result of those applications?
applications pending, just, because open case, trying to pursue soccer at a higher level for high school, first TASO. And, they can put an application process. Yes, application for TASO high school soccer. My application's been open for 2 years for, because this case is open. So I haven't been able to do that. I applied at the Marriott for security and so I have something pending as well. I haven't been able to pursue that. So a lot of no's, just not knowing what, it's kind of hard. Can't on the government record to say, if I want to go flip a burger, you have somebody that doesn't have that, doesn't matter on skills, he doesn't have tapping on the government record. I do. So it probably.
And having gone through that process, do you believe it's the fact that you have this conviction that is preventing you from achieving those positions?
Yes. It is.
And as you understand it, is tampering with the government record a crime of moral turpitude?
That's the thing. That's what kind of hurts.
Speak up a little bit, because she's.
Yes, that's what hurts the most. Case of moral turpitude. If I wanted to, work at a register, cash register, managers going to tamper my government record. It's just shuts the door on me. I don't get fair shake at it. Even if I have the skills.
Okay, and beyond this conviction, do you have any other criminal history?
No, never.
Michael, do you remember coming to my office initially and we spoke about the judgment and the particularly the punishment of 0 days confinement and being put on probation for 6 months? It was a long time ago at this point. Do you remember that? And do you remember how I initially told you that you might as well just violate your probation because you can't be sentenced anytime anyway? That we kind of talked about it joking. But at some point you made a decision not to go that route, but instead, once the appeal was unsuccessful, to engage your probation and community supervision. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell the court why you did that?
Just wanted to comply with the court. I just wanted to put that behind me. As soon as we left this courtroom the first time, I went to the probation department, did the whole process, orientation, and once we found out we were going to appeal it, just told me to stop recording. So at that point, I did. And then once the conviction stood with Court of Appeals, that's when I was informed that I have to report back again to the process again, and I did it again. And just wanted to comply with what the court requested from me.
I asked Cara this question. I know this is kind of a self-serving one, but do you believe that you're ready to re-enter society as a fully contributing member, such as your talents and the circumstances of your life would allow?
I always have. Nothing's changed. I'm still the same person. Just seeing a lot of false reports on the news of what happened. Actually, my character, people that I know. It's been kind of rough, but people that really know me have been, been standing by me, so it's been good.
Okay, and you understand that even if the court grants you judicial clemency, you're never going to get your job with the sheriff's staff. And you understand that you will not get a job with law enforcement.
I do, and that's what hurts the most because it was a job I never thought I would do. It was something that I prayed on, and I felt that I could contribute and help versus see things on the news and just complain about how people are doing things. So I put myself in the position to be able to pursue law enforcement, and it was a passion of mine, and I do it with grace every day.
You understand that I can't go back and expunge this offense, even if the court grants you judicial clemency. And you understand that I can't seal the case through an order of non-disclosure. And what that means, you understand that this will always be on your record, even if you don't have a conviction. The fact that you were arrested, the fact that you went to a trial, the fact that you were on community supervision, that will always be on your record. Do you understand that?
For employers to see as well.
Yes. Okay, and understanding all that, can you tell the court why, in a couple sentences, you're asking for her to alleviate you of this conviction by granting judicial clemency?
Judge, just for closure, just to move forward, put this behind me. And just be able to provide for my family. Just be done with this whole bad nightmare. That's very much.
Thank you, Mark. Pass the witness.
Steve?
Just a few questions. Morning again. So when you went to trial, you knew you could be convicted of any one of those 4 counts.
Yes.
And just because they were counts, those were all individual criminal actions that you were charged with, correct? And in your letter that you wrote to the judge, you called your conviction unfair, correct? And you said that it was based on opinions and not facts or conviction, right? And you also said in your letter to the judge that you still believe that all of your actions were 100% justified, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You also said that you believed your conviction was politically motivated. Is that right?
Could have been. Yes, ma'am.
You wrote that in your letter to the
I
judge,
did. Yes.
that you believed it was politically motivated. And you also wrote to the judge that you didn't believe that your case was proved beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
Correct.
And you understand that the jury was 6 people, that they all unanimously decided to find you guilty of that all, right? And you still today do not agree with that verdict that you just said to the judge.
I disagree, correct, but I respect their decision.
Well, you called it unfair. That's not very respectful, is it? You called it based on opinions and not facts. So I understand what you're saying, but you just told us a few minutes earlier that you really don't respect it because you want it to be vacated. You want it to be gone. By the way, I know your wife was speaking of your issues. Do you seek any therapy or have you been seeking any therapy?
Just counseling at church, based on America, people that I've talked to that have been very good support systems.
So the thing about your back pay that you mentioned to the judge in your letter, is that something you plan to pursue if this clemency is granted?
It'd be a godsend if I could. I mean, something if somebody would say, hey, guess what? We feel that this charge was, this whole entire thing was something that could have been avoided with proper management. That'd be a blessing, but I'm not counting on it. Not looking forward to it. I mean, it's something that I look at, I could have used that money and can't. I'm just trying to put that behind me and move forward, and God's good. He provides, he's always provided for us through it all. But right now, I just want to just get this behind me.
I do understand because you appealed it all the way up in the Court of Criminal Appeals,
Yes.
denied your petition back in November of 2020,
They
right?
went off the record. They couldn't bring anything new, and I just kept saying, who helps the guys that had that break within the system, within my manager, or my administration. Again, what I think is unfair is just the way it was handled internally. I was in trouble for this with the last administration and in trouble with this again with the new administration. And when the sheriff runs the integrity unit, I felt that that's why he was politically motivated, to make his integrity unit look good and have a good track record. But I don't think they had sufficient evidence as far as no one ever spoke to me about what happened. I never got to tell my side of the story of why things took place.
Well, let me stop you there because actually you did tell your side of the story in the report that was part of the reason they convicted you for the tamper. Would that make sense? Right, that was supposed to be your option to, or your opportunity to tell the story at that time.
Yes, and that's
Right.
what's frustrating. We have a report process.
But I'm gonna stop you there
Okay.
and just mention something, because you did bring up your faith, and I'm very moved by your faith. But also in my faith, which is probably similar to yours, we do learn that if we are a sinner and we're seeking, repentance and mercy, we have to first admit that sin, right? That you're asking the judge to give you mercy and clemency, but you are telling her again, you did nothing wrong. Right?
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying I accept what I was charged with now. In my heart of hearts, I know that it could have gone different, but it didn't, and that's why we're here. And
Okay. That's my only question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nothing further. Well, I'm sorry, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Michael, you understand that even if the judge grants judicial clemency today, you're not going to get that back there. Do you accept that? And do you still want her to grant you judicial clemency? That's all I have.
All right. State, do you have any witnesses?
No, we don't judge.
All right, court will hear a brief argument. Defense.
Thank you, Judge. So I'll pick up where we sort of left off arguing yesterday. Your Honor had asked, I think, what was a very cogent question, and is why is this man different than some similarly situated person who is charged with or convicted of tampering with the government record? And Your Honor, it's a hard question to answer because I don't know those people, and I don't know their cases, and I don't know their situations. I do know that two things about them, though. The first one is that I don't think any of them have come before you and asked you to grant this judicial clemency, probably because they were ignorant of the process. I mean, the statutes say we're actually supposed to inform these defendants who are convicted and placed on probation that judicial clemency is an option, and maybe that happens over probation, but I've never seen it. So I don't think they're being informed that this is actually an avenue of relief that's potentially available. The second thing I know about all those people is that at least some portion of them were worthy candidates for judicial clemency. And it's a shame that that was not brought to your or one of the other judges' attention for y'all's consideration. But really, it's not about all the other people. It's of course about Michael Fernandez and his family and his situation moving forward. And this is a matter completely within your discretion, Your Honor, but there are a few principles that I think inform your discretion. And I think the one that best articulates is the Court of Criminal Appeals in Plea, where they said judicial clemency is appropriate where someone is rehabilitated such that they are ready to take their place amongst law-abiding society. Michael Fernandez is that person. He does not present a danger of committing future crimes. He can only contribute positively to the community if Your Honor alleviates some of that conviction. Your Honor, Ms. Del Prado asked some questions regarding, I think she was getting at acceptance of responsibility. And I think Mr. Fernandez has accepted the verdict of the court. What he disagrees with was the whole process he was put through. He doesn't think he's guilty, and that's fine. I mean, this whole medieval notion that you have to confess your crimes to receive mercy from the king. I mean, if that's your business, the federal courthouse is 2 blocks west. What Your Honor is here today to consider is whether Michael Fernandez is rehabilitated and whether he's ready to take his place among society. And what we are arguing to the court and what we believe we have shown by the presentation of testimony of his wife and himself is that he is ready to do that. That both Mr. Fernandez, the Fernandez family, and Your Honor, more importantly, the community as a whole would benefit from the alleviation of this conviction for a crime of moral turpitude such that he would be allowed to at least pursue opportunities that are now foreclosed to him. And this man is I think one of the best candidates for judicial clemency that will have come before you. And that's why we're recommending and asking you to grant that today. Thank you.
State.
Your Honor, Mr. Valentine's correct. The acceptance of responsibility, it's not a medieval notion. It's a notion we still use today. It's a notion the court should expect. This Mr. Fernandez for all of the good he's done, because good people sometimes commit crimes and are otherwise good people, but they commit a crime and they get convicted. And who would not want to ask for judicial clemency if it were available to them? Of course, everybody who's been convicted, I'm gonna guess, would rather not have that conviction on their record. But these are things that we do in our system of justice because we trust our fellow citizens to listen to the facts, to make determinations, and to make a finding. And they did make a finding. To set that aside, just because he may be a good person in all other ways, is a precedent that I don't ask the judge to take, because I think it's one that, and I would agree with Mr. Valentine, numerous people would want clemency if they could get that. I think it's something that the judge could consider only in the most extreme circumstances, and I don't think this is one of those circumstances.
All right.
It could-
Defense, it's your motion, so you have final argument.
Thank you, Judge, and I'll be brief. I know you have a trial to get started. Judge, with regards to the jury's verdict. Now, first of all, I want to point out that the judicial clemency article in the Code of Criminal Procedure contemplates that you can receive judicial clemency after a jury's verdict. It allows the court to both allow the defendant to withdraw his plea and to set aside a verdict. So the legislature, in crafting this provision, decided that that would be appropriate in at least some circumstances. But and with regards to this particular jury, Your Honor, I'd just like to remind the court that they thought so much of this egregious offense that they assigned him 0 days in the Bexar County Jail and recommended probation. So I don't think you do the jury any disservice in their considerations and their service to the community by granting Mr. Fernandez clemency in this case. With regards to counsel's argument that, well, this should only be extreme. I mean, the argument seems to say, well, we hardly ever grant this, so we should really never grant it. And Your Honor, I think that's an argument that should have its own fallacy named after it. It's really not, it doesn't matter what happens in those other cases. I think, like, again, I said earlier, I think more cases of judicial clemency, more motions for judicial clemency should be brought before the court, but it is always about the case and always about the individual. We believe that Mr. Fernandez is worthy of the court's consideration in judicial clemency. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I thought long and hard. I read counsel's motion and also the state's response to the motion, and the motion will be denied. All right, could I see Juan Hall, please? Is there a prosecutor available to take this plea?
I'm your judge.
All right. I know they're getting ready for trial, so Ms. Dipper. All right, the court is calling 2022 CR 1257, State of Texas versus Juan Hall. Five parties announced for the record for the state.
Ryan Gerber for the state of Texas.
For the defense.
Ernest Acevedo for the defendant.
Defense, I'm showing you what's entitled discovery acknowledgement. Have you received all the discovery in this case, and did you review it with your client?
I did.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Hall, I'm showing you what's entitled application for community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, I'm going to show you what's entitled true bill of indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, we do.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
Judge, if you may you advise me what we're
Sorry.
doing? Straight to the-
Proceeding on count 2.
Okay, Judge, we'll be proceeding on count 2.
All right. Any objections to the waivers of count 1 and 3?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to show you what's entitled court admonishments and defendants waivers and affidavit of admonitions. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
In count 2, you're charged with possession of a controlled substance, felony group 1, 4 grams to 200 grams. So it's a second-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea bargain agreement and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call, and the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement you were giving up those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea bargain agreement in this case?
Yes.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses to this offense?
Yes, he has.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
Yes, he does.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes, he was.
Mr. Hall, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea bargain agreement?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial, showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that page with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
According to the plea bargain agreement, state is proceeding on count 2. Punishment is to be assessed at 4 years in the prison. There's a $1,500 fine. State recommends community supervision. They will take in consideration 2022 CR 1256, and there's $120 restitution for laboratory testing. Did you understand that to be the plea bargain agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Defense is at the plea bargain agreement.
It was, Judge, but I believe the fine is recommended to be probated.
All right,
We have no objection to that, Judge.
all right. And state, do you understand that to be the plea bargain agreement?
It is, Judge.
Next, I'm showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Mhm.
Counsel, are there any such motions?
No, ma'am.
Next, I'm showing you outside the plea bargain agreement. Defense is requesting that your community supervision be for a term of 4 years. There'll be a TAP evaluation and 120 hours community service restitution. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state, and the court does not have to follow those recommendations?
Yes, ma'am.
Then in count 2, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest?
No contest.
State any evidence.
Yes, Judge. State would offer State's Exhibit number 1 and all attachments.
No objections.
Mr. Hall, I'm showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call, and the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence State's Exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. After reviewing State's Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
Please, Your Honor.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
No, Your Honor, asking you to follow the plea bargain. He has had an issue with meth. He's been doing better the last year. But he's accepted responsibility for the case and is competent to complete a 4-year probation.
All right, Mr. Hall, if you're drug tested today, what are the results going to be? And before you tell me no, that you are getting drug tested today. So when I place people on probation, I'm hoping that they're going to be successful and complete everything. You understand?
Mhm.
So if you're drug tested today, what are the results going to be?
Oh, that'll be positive.
And what are you going to be positive for?
I'm marijuana, man.
All right, how often are you using?
David,
Okay. Do you have any children?
the
What are their ages?
2 and 1.
Do they stay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there anyone else at home with you?
Mom.
Your mom,
No, their mom.
their mom,
Yeah.
okay. And is she using?
No, not at all. Swear.
Well, I mean,
I understand. But
you really don't know that. This is what I discovered in my time on the planet.
Mhm.
Even though I have more of my life behind me than in front of me, it's still considered a short time on the planet. What I understand is that when people go to the barber shop, at some point in time, they're going to get a haircut. And you know what that means? That means when people are hanging out with people who do drugs, at some point in time, they're going to end up doing drugs.
I understand.
So what I do know is that people who are using drugs should not have minor children dependent on them because they can't depend on them. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you employed?
Self-employed.
Doing what?
Landscaping.
All right. Here's the thing. I'm going to want you to have a real job. And I think that landscaping is a real job, but when I say a real job, I mean that there's actually a business. That's not you knocking on a door and saying, hey, you need your
No,
lawn.
no, we're established.
What's the name of your company?
Chris, the yard guy.
All right. And are you a worker there or do you own it?
Own.
Okay.
There's so tired of shit.
All right. You're gonna have to provide proof of that. He's gonna have to
Okay.
provide
I
proof.
did 6 months on monitor and we were able to provide
Okay.
proof for that. So
All right. This is what the court is gonna do. The court is gonna sentence you to 4 years in prison, suspended in probated for 4 years, $1,500 fine, that'll be probated. Proof of employment within 30 days. There's to be no employment as a home health care provider or with minors. There's not to be any unsupervised contact with minors. Mr. Acevedo, that may change once he is negative and gets his life in order with regards to that. So no unsupervised contact with minors. So what that means is you're not allowed to babysit your children. That means that if your wife needs to go to the grocery store, and I know it takes a lot to put babies in car seats and everything, she's gonna have to do it because you can't be with the children by yourself. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna run a referral to felony drug court. And you need to be honest with them. Don't come back to my court with them saying that you say you don't have a drug problem, because you do, and they'll be able to help you with it. It's a difficult program, but trust me, once you work through it and work the program, you'll be better for it. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're accepted, I won't say if, when you're accepted into felony drug court, all of the conditions that I'm giving to you now, they will be in charge of that, and they may change your conditions. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna want parenting classes, 120 hours of community service restitution. 40 of those hours will be waived if you provide proof of the COVID vaccination. Court is not requiring you to get the COVID vaccination, but if you do, 40 of those hours will be waived. I'm going to waive the remaining of those hours once you complete parenting classes, and you must complete parenting classes. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna want field visits, probation. I am sorry, but there are minors in the home. I'm gonna want field visits, random 3 times per month. Please make sure you check on the children. We'll do a TAP evaluation plus follow recommendations. And that's if he's not accepted in felony drug court. There's gonna be regular reporting by Zoom or in person. Take in consideration 2022 CR 1256. $120 restitution for lab testing. Probation, is there anything else he needs?
Your Honor, did you say anything about his urinalysis?
We're gonna do the UA hotline until accepted into felony drug court.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else you need from the court in order to be successful?
No, ma'am. That's perfect.
All right, I'm gonna show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it, and did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what the definition of a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to your attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. Mr. Cabral, I cannot express to you deeply enough. Young children learn by doing what they see. When they learn to speak, you know how they learn to speak? Because they listen to other people or they see something on television. You don't want your children to learn that drug use is okay because they're seeing you. And I know a lot of people think, well, I'm not using in the home, I'm using outside, but children know.
Mhm.
And then you don't want them teased at school, because if they go to school and they smell like marijuana, they'll be talking, the children will talk to them, right? Children are cruel.
Yeah.
All right, so do better.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, probation is going to go over conditions with you. Where would you like him to go for conditions?
Your Honor, I actually left Mr. Acevedo a message for him to give me a call, and I can get all the information I need.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is the juror, are the jurors here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're gonna do RC Curtis real quick, and then Andrew Del Porto, you are here because?
I was found Mr. Lindblad's cases, but
Yes,
that coach
yes.
request that the court appoint a second trial of this case.
Yes, just,
What do I need to do? I just don't know what to do. I'll do it all.
okay, all right, just file the motions and make sure that they are on the appointment list. If they're not on the appointment list, you can speak to Mr. Botch about what I did with someone he wanted, who was not on the appointment list.
Curtis.
To who? Speak to?
Charles Barker.
Okay.
All right, can I have a motion on RC Curtis? All right, so Mr. RC Curtis.
He's present, Judge. You want him up here with us?
Yes. Okay, and Deputy, when you guys are ready, could you bring out Mr. MUNOZ? All right. Court is calling 2019 CR 1023, State of Texas versus RC Curtis. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daryl Harris for the state.
For the
State
defense?
Fair for the state.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
For the defense.
Charles Button from Mr. Curtis.
And are you Mr. RC Curtis?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm here on an agreed motion to amend conditions of release on bond. And the reason why I wanted us to have this hearing instead of just signing it, it appears that the state is in agreement every time Mr. Curtis has somewhere to travel. So I don't understand why he isn't just on tracking. Why do we keep coming back for agreements?
I requested tracking only and the state did not agree to. I filed a tracking only motion, but it was not agreed to. So I've had to continue doing this.
So I don't,
Be
I'm,
happy to expand, Your Honor.
yes,
The phrasing of defense's motion for tracking only was for him to go anywhere in the state of Texas unannounced willy-nilly. With the motions filed now, he goes to a specific place for a specific period of time, then reverts back to supervision. Simply put, there are no contact provisions with family members of the deceased on his existing conditions, and there is no way of knowing that he doesn't run into those family members.
all right, so this is what I want you all to do. I want you all to craft a tracking motion, because otherwise what I'm receiving is Mr. Curtis basically goes where he wants to go. And it appears that there may be specific places that the state does not want him to go. So I don't understand why you all can't craft a tracking motion where there are specific places he's not allowed to go. Because if he's gonna run into a family member at the HEB and he comes in and he says, I wanna go to the HEB, what are we gonna do? Call somebody and say, hey, are y'all gonna be at the HEB at this time and place? I don't understand, because I keep getting agreed motions for him to travel. And it appears that he's traveling throughout San Antonio and throughout Texas. So why don't you all discuss and see if there is a suitable tracking motion that y'all can come up with? And if you cannot, then what we're gonna end up doing is on every one of these motions, instead of it being agreed, you all will come before the court and we will have a hearing.
Yes, Judge.
All right, so if you guys can work and see if you can craft a tracking, and then I will be here all day.
Okay.
All right.
Did you want to address, you wanted the status of the writ as well, or no?
Yes, Ms. Ferguson said that there's a date on that. Is that
Ms.
correct?
Jones said the writ should be filed by the end of this month. But I don't know of a date. I'll check with Norma to see if there's a date. I haven't heard of the date. I'll check.
If I could, Your Honor, facilitate the email by which Ms. Jones responded, she said specifically she would file about the 30th.
Okay, all right. Because this is headed towards the jury trial. So if you all can confer and see what you can craft on the tracking motion.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you. You're welcome.
May my client be excused?
Yes,
Okay.
I need to run to the restroom.
sure. And my,
It wasn't, let me see. When we first started, my Wi-Fi went down.
oh, okay.
Okay, so it should be up now.
All right, thank you. I have it. Yes,
It doesn't?
Yes, not good.
sure.
We are having a couple of witness issues. They are on their way. Initially, they weren't complying, but we had them served and we had to tell them, we might attach them and everything. So they're on the way. Just asking for some time.
Like, when are they gonna be here?
I'll say within 30 minutes.
What-
Within 30 minutes.
All right. Well, I tell you what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the jury out. I'm gonna swear them in. And then I will tell them that I have another matter to attend to, but I wanna, I'm gonna swear them in.
Okay.
All right.
What's the break? Went to a potty break really fast.
Oh, no problem. Brenda went to a break as well. This would be the check. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swear you all in. If you could raise your right hand for me. And I know you received an oath from downstairs, but this is an oath for this specific case. So do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm in the case of the state of Texas versus Mr. Munoz, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. All right, so everyone, I know I promised you all that we would start at 9:30. Things happen, and so I had a case that went over, and sometimes I have cases that are dealing with conditions that people need, and it's something that needs to be done right away. And there is something that I need to take up. I promise you that it will not take long. So I'm gonna have you all back here at 10:20, okay? And I'm sorry about that, I apologize, but it's a matter that I have to take up urgently, okay? All right, but I promise you, we will get started, and we're gonna go a little bit longer, but I'll make sure you guys get a decent lunch break, okay? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. So state, do you have an ETA on your witnesses? All right, sure.
True bill of indictment.
And please rise.
In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn as such at the July term AD 2019 of the 227th Judicial District Court of said county, in said court, at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the second day of June 2019, Eduardo Munoz, also known as Eduardo Munoz Sotelo, hereinafter referred to as defendant, while in the course of committing theft of property and with intent to obtain and maintain control of said property, did intentionally and knowingly threaten and place Jaren Papara in fear of imminent bodily injury and death. And the defendant did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, to wit, a knife, that in the manner of its use and intended use was capable of causing death and serious bodily injury against the peace and dignity of the state. Signed the foreman of the grand jury.
All right, how do you plead to that? All right, thank you. You can be seated. State, do you have opening statements?
Yes, Judge. Thank you. Imagine something as simple as a group of high schoolers, kids hanging out at the park. They're teenagers. They're at the park practicing or teasing at them, and it's just a normal day for them. Now throw in an adult male, 10 years or senior, coming up to them for some slight that he perceived out of nowhere, pulling out a weapon and taking their property. That's what you're going to hear about today. That's what this case is about. The facts that you're going to hear about there from 3 years ago was June 2nd, 2019. We have some high schoolers and teenagers. They were at Pennsylvania Park over on West Mitchell. They were practicing for a Wednesday. One of the witnesses that you'll hear from blocked it was her Wednesday that they were practicing for at the time. She was 16. She was having a little bit late. The victim, the named victim in this case is Jaren. You're going to hear from him today too. He's going to tell you what they were doing at the park. He's going to tell you how that they were taking a break from their practice and they were walking around the park. As they were walking around the park, they saw the defendant who was sitting with a female, and the defendant asked them if they had a lighter. That Jaren and his friends, a couple guys that he was with, they sort of brushed him off. They're like, "No, we don't have a lighter. We're high school. Like, why would we have a lighter?" They continued on walking the loop. They got back to the area where they were practicing, where the girls were, and that's when the defendant comes up to them. He doesn't have a shirt on. He's talking a lot of noise. He's staring at them. So they have disrespected them. Disrespected him in front of his girlfriend somehow. Jaren thinks that the defendant's going to try to fight him, so he takes his phone out and puts it on the bench in front of him. So they're talking. At some point, the defendant pulls out a knife. Jaren's going to tell you at the time he was only 15 years old. As soon as the defendant pulls out the knife, he jumps back. He's afraid that he's going to injure him, that he's going to attack him or his friends. The defendant sees this, he grabs the phone and he takes it and puts it in his pocket. They're still talking to him. They're like, "Give me back my phone." The defendant's talking back to them, saying, "You're lucky I don't take all your phones." He's threatening all of the kids there. Eventually, he just sort of backs away, holding the knife up, walking away, still threatening them. He yells, he tells them that he lives in the area, that they can bring their family, they can come if they want to find him. Based on the information that the defendant provided himself and some good officers who knew the area well, they were able to identify the defendant. They got a name for him, they got an address. They do a lineup with the kids. The kids identify him in a photo lineup. This defendant where he goes. They're also going to be able to identify him as Sam because they're going to say he was very distinctive looking. So at the end of this case, it'll be a short case. I don't expect it to be complicated. Everything happened pretty fast, but it's an important case. And after we've proven it to you beyond a reasonable doubt, we're going to ask that you hold him accountable for his actions and find him guilty.
Defense.
I'll withhold any statement, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, state, call your first witness.
State calls Jaren Papara.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, have a seat. And please make sure you speak up so that the jurors can hear and so that the court reporter can hear. State your name for the record.
My name is Jaren Papara.
All right, and could you spell that for the record, please?
Jairan. Last name Poparad.
State.
Thank you.
Texas.
People always do that. You're the first one who's done that in a while. But when I state, I mean for the state to receive. That's happened a lot. That's okay.
Jaren, how old are you currently?
I just turned 18.
Are you in high school or are you done with school?
I'm done with school.
What high school did you go to?
Burbank High School.
Prior to that, were you at another high school?
No, sir.
Did you graduate from Burbank?
No, sir.
When did you leave Burbank?
December.
And do you live here in Bear County?
Yes, sir.
At some point, I guess, are you familiar with Confluence Park?
Yes, sir.
How familiar are you with it?
I've been there a few times. It's my area, so.
And do you have friends that you would hang out with at Confluence Park?
A couple times before that.
Do you recall being at Confluence Park back in 2019?
Yes, sir.
What were you there for?
Easy practice.
Do you remember who you were there with?
Yes.
Who were you there with?
I was there with 6 people, including me. It was me, Chris, Joe, Blanca, Angie, and I forgot the other girl.
Okay. And were you all in high school at the time?
Yes.
And so it was June 2nd of 2019. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Back in June 2nd of 2019, how old would you have been? Three years ago. Would you have been 15?
Yes, sir. I would have been. Yeah.
And whose fiancé was it?
It was Blanca's.
How old was she at the time?
Probably 16.
And so y'all were at the park and y'all were practicing?
Yes, sir.
At some point, did you take a break from the practice?
So it was supposed to be a break. It obviously ended. But yeah, it was a break.
When you took a break, what did y'all do?
We had took a walk around because there's a trail from where we practice and it connects. It's a circle and connects back to where we practice. So we walked on that trail.
Who was we?
Me, Joe, and Chris.
So when you're walking along the trail, did something happen?
Yes.
What was that?
So halfway through the trail, we seen a couple. They had asked us for a lighter. We had no lighter. We probably had no lighter. They were a good 25, 30 feet away. So we had yelled it. My friend had, we were like minors, so we were like, why would we have a lighter? So we went on our way.
So let's pause there. The couple, was it a male and female?
Yes, sir.
What did the male look like?
I always compare him to a rapper.
What rapper?
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Do you see that male here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Can you point to him and identify an article of clothing?
What's that?
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. And so who was it that asked you for a lighter? Was it the male or female?
It was a male.
And so once you told him that you didn't have a lighter, did you see how he reacted or did he say anything back?
I went on my way. I don't know what Chris and Joe stuff, but we didn't relay anything back to me.
Okay.
So we just kept walking.
Okay. Where did you walk to?
Back to where we had practice, up the stairs.
And so when you got back to that area, who was over there?
It was the girls, the 3 girls. They had waited there as we walked. They decided to take the break there.
So you get back and it's you, Chris, Joe, and 3 girls, Blanca, and who else?
Forgot the other girl's name.
And so while you're there, at some point, does something else happen?
Yeah, so we walked back up. As we're walking back up and getting closer to the girls, we hear yelling from the stairs, and we see him like charging at us with, and he takes off his shirt.
Who's him? The defendant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you hear or do you remember what he was yelling?
Yeah, I remember him saying something about this, us disrespecting him and his girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so at that point, did you know what he was talking about?
I was confused myself.
Okay. Did you say anything back to him?
To me, it was disrespect. I don't know where, so I was kind of mad. So yeah, I had something to say about it.
Okay, so you and him were arguing back and forth,
Yes, sir.
and you said he didn't have a shirt on?
No, sir. But it really wasn't arguing. He was like, as he was walking to me, arguing.
Explain that.
Well, he was a good few feet. I'd say about 40 feet, 30 feet away from me as he was charging for me. So during that time he was coming to me, that's when we were exchanging words as he was charging.
And by charging, was he walking? Or
He was like screaming and yelling as he was charging, like fast jogging, I guess.
Okay. And of the group, how would you relate? I guess, how are you in stature? Are you the tallest, shortest?
I was the biggest one there.
When he was yelling, who was he directing his words to?
It was me. Yeah, it was me.
And so he comes charging up, and you said some words back to him.
Yes, sir.
You remember what you said?
I don't. I was just. I don't know if I feel disrespected. I'm gonna say something about it.
Okay. And so at some point, did it escalate into more than just words?
Well, he didn't. Like I said, he was charging, so he didn't stop or nothing. As he came closer, I took my phone out, and then that's when everything else happened.
Why did you take your phone out?
Because I thought I was going to defend myself.
Okay.
I didn't see any other way out.
So you thought it was gonna be a physical?
Yes, sir.
fight?
Yes, sir. Of his life.
And so you took your phone out, where did you put it?
I put it on a concrete bench right behind me.
And so how close did he get to you?
The closest he got was probably like 3.5, 4 feet.
Did you and him get into a fist fight?
No.
What happened before that happened?
Okay, so as he was charging, I'd say when he got about 7, 6 feet is when he pulled out a knife.
Do you remember where he pulled it from?
I believe he took. I'm not sure.
Okay. And what did the knife look like?
I remember the blade was probably 4.5, 4 inches long.
Was it a butcher knife, machete?
I think it was a switchblade.
Okay. And so it's like a 4-inch switchblade.
Yes, sir.
When he pulled it out, where did he have it?
In his right hand.
Did he have it down at his side? Was he
It
holding
was
up?
more up, pointing at me.
What was he saying, if anything?
Like I said, I was still confused at why everything was going down. So he had mentioned disrespecting him. But I was so confused. So when he put out the knife, I took a couple steps back because my phone isn't working.
Why? And so when he put out the knife, why did you take a couple steps back? Were you afraid?
I was afraid, yeah. I was afraid.
What were you afraid of?
Him stabbing me, and I didn't think my phone was working.
And so you stepped back, were you in front of the bench or behind the bench at first?
At first, I was in front of the bench.
And then when you pulled out the knife, you stepped behind the bench?
I stepped behind the bench. Just stepped over behind the bench.
Once you stepped back, what was the next thing that happened?
He had got closer, and then he got closer to the bench and took my phone, and threatened to take everyone else's phone and whatever we had.
When he took your phone, did you say anything to him about giving me my phone back?
Yes, I was like, "You serious? You can take my phone?" I had mentioned how old I was, and he didn't seem to care.
And while he was taking your phone, and also I guess while you were telling him to give you your phone back, did he still have the knife out?
Yes, sir. He had it out all the way up until I really couldn't even see him. He was walking back with a knife pointing at me too.
Okay, so he was holding the knife up?
Yes, sir.
What was everyone else doing?
Like I said, he had targeted me, so they were all behind me, like a good amount of ways behind me.
And you said that he threatened to take everyone else's phone?
Yeah, he had threatened to take everyone else's phone and whatever we had.
Did he take anything from anyone else?
No.
How did everything end?
I'm sorry.
So you mentioned that he started backing up.
Yes.
Did y'all, like, did he just do that on his own, or like he just started walking away?
I'm not sure. I guess he realized the phone was enough. So when he had the phone, he had to exchange a few more words, and then he started walking away with his girl.
Was he walking away like with his back to you or facing?
No, facing me, making sure I wasn't following him. That's all I thought.
Did he still have the knife up?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember anything that he was saying as he was walking away?
Yes, sir. He mentioned that he had lived in the area and it could be my family. If, I really care. What did he do?
Say that again.
He said I could be my family, and that he lived around the corner. Yeah.
We'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, defense.
Okay, sir. So you didn't graduate from high school?
I did.
You did?
Yes, sir.
But
I went to an early program.
okay, so you did graduate from high school?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what are you doing nowadays?
I'm working at a petroleum transport company.
What do you do there?
I'm a diesel mechanic.
Now, well, y'all were there for a quinceanera, is that correct?
Correct.
And about what time of the day was it that y'all were there?
I
Y'all
don't-
got there?
I don't recall, sir.
Well, did they have a time that they set up the practice or whatever it was?
Yeah, it was a few years back, so I don't remember.
Okay. So you don't remember the time? Do you remember the date?
I know it was in June.
So you're really not sure what date it was?
No, it was a few years back, sir.
You don't remember the time?
No, but I did say it was June 2019.
And you said you were there with several friends, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that y'all took a break
Yes, sir.
from doing what?
Practice.
What were y'all practicing?
Routine of the dance, the Sprite dance.
Okay. Okay. And then you said you and Joe and Chris walked off?
Oh, yeah, during our break, we decided to walk on the trail.
Were y'all gonna get back together and keep practicing?
Yes, sir. We were just gonna walk around the trail and continue.
Okay. And y'all, where did y'all go to? Just walking whatever circuit it is, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so y'all didn't stop for anything?
No.
And the girls all stayed back where they were at?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any reason why y'all went on a walk?
Yeah, because we wanted to.
There was no other reason?
No, it's just because we wanted to.
Were there any adults out there?
No, sir. Actually, there was. They were where we had practice. Not on the trail. We didn't see anyone else on the trail except a couple.
Okay. And so, about how long was it that y'all went walking before you got back to the dance area?
It's not a long walk, so I'd say 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes?
I'd say. I think so.
So could you see the dance area from where you were walking from?
No, sir.
Were there a lot of trees and stuff?
Yes, sir.
So how far after y'all left the dance area did you encounter this man and this woman?
I'd say halfway to the trail. Exactly halfway, to be honest, actually.
Was the trail paved?
Yes, sir.
Or was it just?
It's paid.
It was paved. Okay. Were there any other people there on the trail as you were walking?
No, sir. Just a couple.
Just this person, this man, this woman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so if I recall correctly, you said basically you got back to the location where the practice was. Right? And is there like an auditorium there or something?
Yeah, it's like an open area. It's covered, shaded.
Okay, and is there like a big cement area?
Yes, it's like a pavilion.
Okay, so you got back to the pavilion and the adults were there, right?
There was not our adults that had nothing to do with this, but there was 2 adults around in the area.
Okay, and when you say the area, what do you mean by that?
I mean, they were visible. They could see us.
They could see you.
Yes, sir.
And so you get back, 3 of you guys, and get up with the girls, and y'all get together again at the pavilion. And the adults are there, they could see y'all. And then you say that at this point, somebody starts yelling at you.
As we're walking back up the stairs, and we're walking back to the girls, we hear yelling, we look back, and it's him walking up the stairs that we had just walked up.
Okay, and these stairs belong to what?
The trail.
They're part of the trail?
Yes, sir.
What do they lead up to?
Back up to the pavilion.
So they're part of the pavilion?
Yes, sir.
Attached to
The trail is part of the pavilion.
Okay, and so you walk up to the pavilion, you come to some stairs. As you're walking up the stairs, because the girls are at the pavilion, right?
Yeah, no, we're already walking. We already walked up the stairs.
Okay, so you're at the top of the,
Yes, sir.
in the pavilion, and that's when you hear
So yeah,
somebody
someone
yelling,
yelling.
Let him finish and then answer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and that's when you hear somebody yell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And where was this person when they were yelling at you?
I had noticed the yelling when he was walking, coming up the stairs.
Okay, so is he right behind you?
No,
Okay, so how long were you in the pavilion before you hear some screaming or yelling?
less than 10 seconds.
Okay, so will you agree with me that 10 seconds is not a very long time?
No, I don't think so.
So would it be safe to say that as you were walking up the stairs, he was like right behind you? Or very close to you?
No, I wouldn't say he was close to me because I would have noticed.
Okay. About how far do you think he was from?
I said 40 feet when I noticed he was 35 feet. When I noticed he was coming up the stairs.
But that amount is just a guesstimation, isn't it?
It is,
It could have been longer, could have been
could have
shorter.
been shorter.
You didn't measure, it, did you?
No, sir.
And the same with the time. You didn't time anything, did you?
No.
I mean, just
It's all an estimate.
you're just guesstimating. Okay. But what you're saying is he was relatively close to you, but not right behind you.
Yes, sir.
And then you hear yelling and screaming, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you understand what was being yelled and screamed at you?
I was confused on what he was mad about. I could tell he was angry.
So this man is angry and he's yelling. How did you know it was directed to you?
Because he's looking at me, eye contact.
Okay, were there anybody there next to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could he have been looking at anybody else?
He could have, but I seen his eyes look at my eyes.
Okay, so you already anticipated that he was after you.
As he was charging, it was pretty apparent that he was coming after me.
Well, at what point does he begin charging at you?
Since he had walked up the stairs, he
Okay, so while he's walking on the trail or getting to the stairs, he's not charging, he's just walking.
I don't know, I didn't see him.
So is it safe to say that the first time you saw him was when you heard somebody yell
The first time I saw him was when he was coming upstairs, yes,
up the stairs yelling?
yes.
But you don't know if he was yelling at you or somebody else.
No, until I see him lock eyes with me, then.
And where were your friends at this point?
They were behind me, before he, like, I was I was the last one as we were walking back to the girls. Coming up the stairs, I already passed the stairs. I was the last one.
So would it be safe to say that the girls are in front of you, your friends are in front of you, you're the last person?
Oh, yes,
When you hear the yelling, you turned around. Is that correct?
yes,
So therefore, at that point, your friends are behind you and the girls are behind them.
yes.
Okay. And where are the adults at this time?
Like I said, they were visible. They weren't super close, but I remember they were, I don't know how to explain it. There's like a little other open area, little bench area. To the right of the pavilion. It's a pretty big pavilion.
But they could see what was going on.
I believe so. I didn't pay attention until the only time I noticed that there was adults there was when we were walking back up. I didn't pay no mind until when everything had happened.
Do you think they could have heard what was?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Well, was it loud enough for a lot of people to hear what was being yelled? And so the gentleman that's on the walkway, he gets up to where the pavilion's at on the,
Yes,
and then he comes up to you, is that correct?
he's charging at the group, but it seems like he's coming at me.
Okay, and when you say charging, tell me exactly.
Walking fast, angry. You can just tell.
So he's walking fast. He's not running.
No, but he's like cursing and really bad walking. I don't know how to explain it. He's just very as intimidating as you can coming at someone.
But like I said, he was walking, he wasn't running at you.
No,
And you said that from the, and you said about 30 feet or 40 feet, is that correct?
well,
But he's charging at you, so this is getting smaller, is that correct?
yes,
Okay. So how far is he from you when you decide to take your phone out of your pocket?
6 feet. I estimate 6 feet when I realized I had to defend myself or was going to have to.
Okay, so you've already decided you're gonna defend yourself because he's 6 feet from you. And the first thought for defense is to take your phone out of your pocket.
I didn't want to drop my phone.
But I'm saying,
Yes,
and you put it down on a stool or a
concrete bench.
concrete bench. Okay. And your buddies, they're still standing behind you,
They're still behind me. Yes.
and not one of them thought there was a danger enough to come and help you?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
I'm sorry.
I will draw a question on that. Did either Chris or Joe get to your side or come to stand right by you or next to you?
No, sir.
And how far away were the girls, do you remember, from where Chris and Joe were?
They were behind Chris and Joe, so
Was it several feet or
7
several? Or
2, 3 feet.
50 feet?
They're pretty close to each other.
And you said that when the man is coming at you, and he's charging at you, he was taking his shirt off?
As he was walking, yes, he's taking his shirt off.
So he's charging at you, and he's using both hands to take his shirt off?
Correct.
But you said that he also had the knife out already.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. When did he take the knife out?
After he took his shirt off.
After he took his shirt off. Okay. Which pocket did he take it out of?
I don't recall.
Did he have it in his right hand or his left hand?
It was in his right hand.
And you said it was you said it was a 4-inch blade,
4.5 quarters.
but you didn't measure it, did you?
No,
So you're guessing that, not that.
I'm estimating.
Okay, you're estimating. Basically, you're guessing. You don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
And you said it was a switchblade?
I believe so.
But you're not sure.
I seen it switched out like a switchblade, so that's why I think it was a switchblade.
Okay. But again, are you sure that it's a switchblade or not?
Objection has been answered.
Same.
I am sure it was a switchblade.
So at this point, you said you moved behind the concrete bench, is that correct?
Can you repeat that?
I said at this point, when he pulls the knife out, you said you moved behind the concrete.
Correct.
bench. How far were you from where you were standing with the concrete bench?
In front of me, after I had backed up.
Well, how far was it behind you?
Oh, 1 foot.
And then did you jump over it? Did you walk?
I walked it behind. Yeah, I walked over it behind.
Well, that's what I'm a little concerned. Did you walk around it
No, it wasn't as tall.
or you just stepped over?
I put my, yeah, stepped over it.
Okay. And your phone was already on the bench.
It was on the bench.
And when you stepped over it, did you turn and face the man that was yelling at you?
I was still faced him. So as he was coming at me, and then, well, he had pulled the knife out, and that's when I backed up. I was still facing him as I walked over it. Yes, stepped over the bench.
And Joe and Chris are still behind
Yes, still behind me.
you. And the girls are behind them.
Yes.
And you said that that this person said that you disrespected him.
That's what he said.
So did he at any time demand the phone from you? Did he ask you for the phone?
No, but after he took my phone, that's when he demanded everyone else's phone.
So he took your phone. Did anybody give him another phone?
No,
And he picked the phone up off the bench?
yes,
Which hand did you use to pick up the
Left.
phone? Okay. Okay. And after he said he's gonna take everybody else's phone, but he had your phone, you said that that's when he started to leave.
I'm sorry, if you repeat that.
After he picked up your phone, and then he said he wanted everybody else's phone, but nobody gave him a phone, that's when he decided to leave.
He had still had some words. Like I said, he had mentioned that he was in an area and they wanted to do something about it, center family.
Okay, but that's when he's leaving. He's walking
I said,
away.
as he was walking away,
He's walking away.
still facing us.
All right. So he's walking backwards.
Yes,
And you said the knife was still out.
yes, still pointing as he's walking.
And did he turn around and walk down the steps?
There was no steps. He was walking out of the parking lot.
Okay, so was that by where the adults were?
No, the parking lot wasn't where the adults were. It's on the opposite of the parking lot.
So he didn't leave the way he came, he left another way.
Yes.
And did he walk by the girls and the other boys?
No.
When the officers came, did they ask you to identify pictures?
Yes.
How long after this happened did that occur?
I don't recall.
Well, was it a week? Was it a month?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember.
No.
No.
Did you write any statements about this incident prior to, or when it, right after it happened?
I don't know if I had a written statement, but I know they recorded a voice statement.
Did you review that
Yes.
today, prior to being here today?
Yes.
Did you go over the police reports prior to being here today?
Police report.
Yeah, the police reports that were written about what occurred.
Written, I didn't see no written thing, nothing written. I just looked over the video of my recording.
So it's safe to say that you remember a lot of this stuff because of just watching what happened back then,
I kind of, a little bit came back.
a little bit.
Yes,
So you don't remember a lot of it.
not dates or time.
And that lady, was she involved in this thing?
She was also talking mess.
That lady was?
Yes,
Okay. And was she right there with the judge?
she was behind the
Did she threaten you in any way?
no, she's just talking mess to more of the girls.
Okay, I have no further questions, Rob.
Any redirect?
Not at this time, Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Subject to recall.
All right, you can step down. State, call your next witness.
State calls Detective Carlos Miranda.
Would you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, just have a seat. Make sure you speak up so that the jurors and the court reporter can hear. Could you state your name for the record?
My name is Detective Carlos Miranda.
All right, state.
Detective Miranda, how are you currently employed?
Currently employed.
How are you employed?
Um,
Yes, with who?
with City of San Antonio, for South Police Department.
And you're a detective, right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
How long have you been a detective?
About 8 months. 8 months, yes, sir.
Are you a certified police officer?
Yes, sir, I am.
Prior to becoming a detective, what was your position with SAPD?
I was a patrolman working for South Patrol.
How long were you a patrolman with South Patrol?
Approximately 10 years.
Can you speak up?
Yes, ma'am.
So back in June of 2019, would you have been a South Patrol?
I was a South Patrol officer, yes, sir.
As a South Patrol officer, what are your duties?
Pretty much, well, we, as a patrol officer,
I guess let me ask a more specific question. Do you respond to calls?
these will respond to calls of service to include anything from things, burglaries, robberies, property crimes.
Do you recall being dispatched out for a robbery at Confluence Park?
No, I was not dispatched to a robbery.
What were you dispatched out for?
We were not dispatched, when I was just on patrol, I was not dispatched to a robbery.
Okay. I guess, do you recall being involved in the investigation of a robbery at Confluence Park?
Yes, on that day when I arrived to work, our lieutenant, he's the one that notified us that had a robbery had taken place.
Okay. And so at that point, what were you assigned or asked to do?
At that point, I was just assigned to regular patrol. I was not assigned to a robbery specifically on that day.
Okay. So what was your involvement with this robbery case?
When we were notified by our lieutenant, he notified us that they had a robbery had taken place. Not on that day when I showed up to work. The robbery had taken place previously. I don't know, maybe a couple of days. I was off when the robbery took place.
Okay.
He notified us that a robbery had taken place, and the address where the robbery took place, that was my patrol area. So I was familiar with the area where the robbery had taken place.
Okay. And what was that area? Where did the robbery take place at?
I don't know the exact address, but if I can look at the report, I can tell you.
Yes, is that a copy of your report for this case?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mark it as State's Exhibit A, just for the record. Feel free to look at it to refresh your memory. You just can't read directly from it, okay?
Yes, sir. I believe the address is gonna be 409 Connor Street.
That's the address that you have for the robbery.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not the address. I'm
Okay.
sorry. 310 West Mitchell Street.
Okay. And are you familiar with that address?
Not specifically, no. Probably the road.
Is that within Bear County?
Yes, sir.
And so that's the address where the robbery took place.
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Okay. And so then what was your involvement again?
My involvement at that day when I arrived to work that day, like I specified before, our lieutenant told us that a robbery had taken place at that address. And he provided us with a description of the suspect and a physical description of the suspect. And he told us to be on the lookout for the suspect. So when I got on patrol, this is exactly what I was doing at the time when I started work.
Did you come across a suspect?
No, I did not. I did not come across a suspect.
Did you come across any witnesses who you thought may be helpful in identifying the suspect?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I went ahead and approached a known female. At the time when I approached her, I discovered that she was homeless. But I asked her if she knew of a male that, and I gave her the description of the male that had committed a robbery. I never told her that the male had committed a robbery. I just gave her the description. And she said yes.
Okay. And so based on the description that I guess you gave her, were you confident that y'all were speaking of the same person?
Yes, sir.
Was she able to give you any information on that person as in a name or address or anything?
Yes, when I asked her if she knew the name of the individual that I was talking about, she said.
Your Honor, object to hearsay.
Sustained.
Yes, I was given a name.
And so based on, were you given anything besides the name? Without getting into specifically what you were told, were you given any information?
I was given a general description of the area where he lived.
Okay. And so based on that name and that general description of the area, did you, I guess, do some further investigation?
I did, yes, sir.
Based on that further investigation, were you able to come up with an address for the individual?
That is correct, yes, sir, I did.
Once you got an address, were you also able to get a picture?
Yes, sir, I did.
What was the, and I guess a full name for that person?
The name that I got on the return was EDUARDO MUNOZ.
And based on that name and that address, did you also come across a picture for that individual?
Yes, I got a picture.
Did the picture of that individual match the description given by the, I guess, the victims in the case?
Yes, they did.
Once you had that name and that verification, what did you do with that information?
Once I received that information, I emailed the robbery unit detectives. And after that, I don't know what they did with that information.
Karen, at this time, we'll pass the witness.
Defense.
Okay, officer. So you did not go to the location on the date of the occurrence,
That is correct, sir. I didn't.
and all you're here to testify is that somebody gave you some information and you found a picture, and then you told the robbery people that you had a name to go with that picture.
That is correct, sir. Yes, sir.
So you don't have any other information as far as the facts, or if there was any weapons or anything like that?
That is correct. I don't.
And you didn't get any information of any like fingerprints or anything else?
No, sir. I didn't do the initial report.
So you don't know any of the facts other than a robbery?
That is correct.
And that's what was talked about, a robbery.
A robbery, yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
No further questions, sir.
All right, is this witness excused? Is the witness excused?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
The state called officer John Sylvester.
Yes. Take a seat, please. Could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Please keep your voice up so that the jurors and the court reporter can hear. Can you state your name for the record?
John Sylvester.
Right, state.
Thank you. Also, Sylvester, how are you currently employed?
I work for the Extension Police Department.
Okay. And I see on your uniform, there's an FTO. What does that mean?
Field training officer.
Do you have additional duties as a field training officer?
Yes, sir.
What are those duties?
I train probationaries once they graduate from the academy.
And how long have you been FTO?
Officially since March of this year.
How long have you been with SAPD?
I've been sworn since September of 2018.
Do you recall where you were assigned back in June of 2019?
Yes, sir. I was on light duty at the robbery unit.
As an officer on light duty, I guess what does that entail?
I got injured on duty, so I was still performing duties from my desk, basically. So I was helping the robbery unit look into, potential places that would have surveillance cameras or help find additional information if they had a suspect lead, try to find them through social media or through our report writing system, stuff like that.
At some point, were you assigned to assist in a robbery that happened at Confluence Park?
Yes, sir.
What was your role in that assignment?
I went with Detective Foster out to the victim's home and assisted with a photo lineup that he had generated.
Was Detective Foster the one assigned to the case?
Yes, sir.
And so you said you went out to the victim's home. Do you remember the victim's name?
Not off the top of my head.
Karen, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
And so you said that you were assigned to go out with Detective Foster to do what?
A photo lineup.
Okay. And then on that document, would you have notated the victim's name or would it be notated on there?
Yes, sir.
What was that person's name?
I don't want to mispronounce it, but it's Jaren, I believe.
And so what was, in assisting with the photo lineup, what exactly did you do?
I read this form to them and then they signed it and I signed as a witness. And then they looked through the pictures to see if they could identify who was the suspect that had pulled the knife on it.
And can you explain to the jury what is a photo lineup?
So if we have enough information on a suspect, they will generate several pictures of people that look similar to your suspect. And one of them could potentially be, it's not always them, but if we think, for instance, that this guy was the guy, we should show several pictures and then see if the victim could identify him, be like, okay, this is the guy. And then we ask them, well, how do you know it's that person? Well, because of the shape of the eyes, their mustache, tattoos, whatever it is, that they know that it's that person.
Do you recall in this situation if it was you, Detective Foster, or someone else who gathered the photos?
Usually they call somebody and they generate the photo lineup. So they'll say, this is our suspect, give them that picture, and then somebody not associated with the case generates different pictures that are similar.
Okay. And is it usually 6 photos total?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you recall at this time if you knew which photo was the suspect?
I did not.
You did not know, or you don't recall?
I did not know at the time.
Okay. And so you would have administered the photo lineup to the victim in the case?
Yes, because that's one of the things too, is you don't know who it is or which folder it is.
Why is that important?
So that way you can lean and persuade them, hey, number 2 looks good, is that him?
Okay.
Is that her?
And so would you give them all the photos at once, or do you give them one at a time?
You hand it to them after you read this form to them. So you give them a stack with manila folders in it, and they're labeled 1 through however many pictures you have. And then they take their time going through.
After they look through all the photos, do they then tell them that they can identify something?
Yes.
In this situation, was the victim able to identify someone?
Yes, sir.
Once they identify someone, do they indicate on the document which photo number that is?
Yes, sir. They write it in. This one, it says number 3.
Do they also say how they knew it was that person?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then do they sign that document also?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, we will pass the witness.
Defense.
Okay, officer. So you didn't do any investigation on this case, is that correct?
Not anything substantial.
I mean, you didn't go to the accused house and search the house or execute an arrest warrant or anything like that?
No, sir.
Are you familiar, other than presenting the packet of photos to the young man, anything regarding any weapons or anything else?
I had briefly gotten the case because, like I said, I was assisting. So on that call or that report, there was potential video. So I had called the manager of, I think it was a convenience store, and asked if there was potential video with the alleged suspects in it. And they said that there was, and that they could, give us a copy of the video. And then I wrote some notes into our report writing system, and then Detective Foster took it from there. I never viewed the video. I never went out, because when you're on light duty, you're not allowed to go out into the field normally.
Did you read the report? Did you read the documentation in this case?
I don't recall. I may have looked over it briefly, just because part of the duties on that would be, I would read the report and compare what the victim or witnesses, whenever I contact them on the phone, if it's the same story or not, or if it changes.
You said you got some video from a convenience store, is that correct?
I did not get video. I just called a manager who said there was available video.
How about any other evidence? Did you get any of the other physical evidence?
No,
Do you know if there was any other physical evidence?
I do not.
So you don't know if there was a knife or not ever found?
No, sir.
No further questions.
State.
Officer Sylvester, did you review any reports prior to testifying today?
No, sir.
So the prior witness testified that this occurred at Confluence Park, not at a convenience store. Would that be accurate? I guess, where are you getting the convenience store from?
If I remember correctly, somebody might have said that there was the suspects fled in that direction or came from the store. So we were just trying to see if there was anything that matched the description of the suspects at that store nearby.
Okay.
Not saying that that was the incident location, but like when I'm on patrol, I look all around anywhere close by and see if there's ring cameras or anything like that, so you could potentially catch a suspect or suspect vehicle leaving or coming to the scene.
And you're basing this on just your memory?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess my question is, are you certain that it's for this particular case?
Yes, sir. Just like I said, it could have been irrelevant, but in our report system, you would see that I did make some notes for making a phone call. If it was like dug into, but it could have just been something that the reporting officer had put into the notes.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Third officer Sylvester, I may have misunderstood the answer. Was there video or was there not video?
I know that there was potential video. I don't know if Detective Foster ever did pull the video or not.
Did you see any notes in the system indicating that there was video pulled?
No, sir. Once I hand it off to a detective, and they would take it from there unless they ask for assistance.
I'll learn at the time we'll pass away.
All right, defense.
Okay, so Officer Sylvester has. Who did you talk to about this video? To get it, or to see if it was there?
I don't recall. It would have been a manager or an employee at the location that I called.
You remember the name of the location?
No, sir.
Remember, if you don't remember the name of the place, do you remember what address it was at?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
But, and you don't remember the person who you talked to?
No, sir. This was a follow-up phone call 3 years ago.
And you did turn this over to Detective Foster?
Yes, sir.
So he would know about this video, whether he followed up or not.
Yes, sir. And if it was relevant or not.
Other than Detective Foster, was there anybody else that would have knowledge of this?
I wouldn't know that if another detective was helping him or not.
No further questions?
All right, state.
Your Honor, may I first witness?
Yes.
Officer Sylvester, State's Exhibit 1. You've had a chance to look at it. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of the photo lineup that you presented on that day?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware of what unit Detective Foster is currently assigned to?
These are the proper units, so
So are you aware of his current status with SAP?
he's still active.
No further questions, Judge.
All right, defense.
No further questions.
All right, is this witness excused?
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
The state calls Chris Moon. Christopher Alvarez.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I may, before this witness testifies, I'd like to put something on the record outside the presence of the jury.
All right, the parties approach. All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You're gonna need to speak up. All right, if you could make sure that you're close to the microphone and speak up so that the court reporter and the jurors can hear you. Could you state your name for the record?
Christopher Avalos.
Good tone, good sound. All right. All right, state.
Christopher, how old are you currently?
17.
Are you still in school?
Yes, sir.
Where do you go to school at?
San Antonio Ken
San Antonio?
High School.
Okay, do you work also?
Yes, sir.
Where do you work?
Construction.
And do you have any siblings?
Yes, sir.
How many?
2.
What are their names?
Antonio Revilla and Blanca Luna.
At one point, did you go to high school or were you friends with Jaren?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall an incident happening at Confluence Park?
Yes, sir.
What were you at Confluence Park?
For my sister's quinta practice.
For Blancas?
Yes, sir.
Who was there with you?
It was me, Blanca, Jaren, Joe, Brianna, and my ex-girlfriend Angie.
And so y'all were practicing for Blancas quinta.
Yes, sir.
At some point, did y'all take a break from the practice?
Yes, sir.
What did y'all do when you took a break?
Well, me, Jaren, and Joe, we went for a walk, like a little circle before practice started. And that's when we saw him and I guess his girlfriend.
And by him, do you mean the guy at in the white shirt?
Yes, sir.
What were he and his girlfriend doing?
Just sitting on a rock, just smoking.
Okay. Did they say anything to y'all?
They asked for a lighter and we said we ain't got no lighter. And I guess he took it offensive. So we're walking back to our group to start our practice. So him and his girlfriend walked up to us and he said, "Did you say anything to my wife?" Or "What the fuck did you say?" So we said we didn't say anything and we just got up and we just looked at each other and we're just confused. So he took out a knife and threatened us.
Did you get a good look at the knife?
It was like a little like small pocket knife.
Was it like a switchblade?
I'm not sure.
Okay. When he took out the knife, what did he do with it?
He pointed the knife at us.
Do you remember who he was talking to?
He was talking to Jaren.
Why was he talking to Jaren, if you know?
I'm not really sure.
So what did he say when he took out the knife?
I can't remember.
Okay, can't remember. What did y'all do when he took out the knife?
We just stood there like in shock. We didn't know what to do. And Jaren's phone was like on a little seat slab, I guess you can say. And he saw Jaren's phone, just took it, and then he pointed the knife at us, like going away, and he just ran.
Okay. Did y'all say anything after he took Jaren's knife?
Jaren's
Or
knife.
sorry, Jaren's phone. Sorry.
No, sir. And then we just called the cops.
Okay. Do you remember if he said anything else about taking anyone else's stuff?
No.
He didn't say anything, or you don't remember?
No, he didn't say anything. He just grabbed the phone and pointed the knife and took off.
Okay. And so from what you remember, he just took the phone and then took off.
Yes, sir.
How did he take off? Did he run, walk?
He ran.
Ran?
Or he like sped walked away. And then as soon as he hit the corner, he just took off.
Okay. Was he by himself or was he with the female?
With the female.
Did he say anything as he was walking away?
No.
Not that you remember?
He didn't say anything. He just took off.
Okay. And at this time, we'll pass the witness.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, it's Avalos is your last name, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Avalos. So y'all are the quinceanera. How old were you when that happened?
Like 15. I don't remember.
Okay, and do you remember the date of this occurrence?
It was around July.
About what time of day was it?
It was around like 5-ish.
And so if I understand correctly, you guys were doing some kind of, was it dance routines or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay. And y'all decided to take a break.
yes, sir.
Okay. And so there's 3 girls and 3 guys.
Yes, sir.
There was some parents there, right?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Were there any adults in the area?
No, sir.
No adults. Okay. And you're at this pavilion, is that correct?
Say again?
At this pavilion where y'all were doing the dance.
Yes, sir.
And then you guys take a break and 3 of you guys decide to
Take a little walk.
walk.
Yes, sir.
But how long did it take you to walk from there back to the pavilion?
It's like 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yes, sir.
Okay. And about how long had you been walking when you ran into this man and this woman?
Literally like 30 seconds into the walk.
Okay. Okay. And you said they were sitting on a rock?
Yes, sir.
And they asked you
For a lighter.
for a lighter.
Yes, sir.
And who, did you answer or?
Yes, sir. I responded and I said, we ain't got no lighter.
And then you guys kept walking.
Yes, sir.
And this guy, and this girl just started walking behind you.
No, sir. As soon as we got up to our group, they walked up like some little stairs, and that's when they confronted us.
So you can agree with me, 2-minute walk, that's not very far.
No, it's like a little circle.
And so if you were getting on in the pavilion and they were coming up the steps, they were pretty close to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as they're coming up the steps, did anybody say anything to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Was anybody yelling or screaming?
No, sir.
And what brought your attention to this man, this person that was walking at you?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he's just walking and all of a sudden you're saying he's coming at you. What brought your attention to that fact?
I just saw him walking up to us like in an aggressive way.
Okay. Oh. So he was walking aggressively.
Yes, sir.
Was he doing anything?
No.
Okay. Was he taking anything off or
No.
any clothing off?
No, sir.
Did you see anything in his hand?
Just the knife he pulled out.
Okay, so he did, you're saying at that time he pulled out a knife.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it in his right hand or left hand?
I'm not sure.
And you said it was a pocket knife,
I'm not sure what kind of knife it was.
but it was small.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and when this person's coming at you, how were you guys standing?
We were just sitting down, facing like towards the water. So like this little like kind of hill, and then there's like stairs that goes down. So we're facing towards the water, and I was sitting down with my head down, and I looked up, and then my ex-girlfriends are here next to me, and then Jaren, and then Joe, and then Blanca and Brianna. And then we looked up and we just seen like standing right in front of us.
So y'all are all in like a straight line?
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody said they were standing in front and then 2 guys standing behind them and then 3 girls standing behind the 2 guys, that wouldn't be right, would it?
No.
Okay. And so at one point, Jaren, he put down a phone, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and where did he put it down on?
We're here, we're sitting at.
Where y'all were sitting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did he stand up or was he sitting down?
We all stood up.
You all stood up,
Yes, sir.
okay? And so was the phone on the bench behind you or in front of you?
Behind us.
Behind you, okay? And then, did did you guys ever move back around the benches or?
No, we just stayed in that spot, we just like took a couple steps back. And that
Okay,
was it.
all right. And then, how did the phone get away from Jaren? How did that person end up with the phone?
He just pointed the knife around us and just took it.
Okay, so did y'all got move or?
Yeah, we moved out the way.
So y'all were all standing in front of this bench, and then you're saying this person pulled a knife, and then you took their phone, right?
Yes, sir, he took the phone.
And then he started walking away fast,
Yes, sped walk.
okay? Did he turn his back to you, or was he facing you?
Well, as soon as he took off, he was like walking away with the knife pointed at us, and then he turned around and just, when he hit the corner, he took off.
And he didn't say anything to you?
No, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
State,
No further questions, Judge.
all right, is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can step down. State, call your next witness.
State called Blanca Luna.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, you can lower your hand, have a seat, and please make sure you keep your voice up so that the jurors can hear you and so that the court reporter can hear you. State your name for the record, please.
Blanca Luna.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Blanca, how old are you currently?
I'm 19.
Back in June of 2019, you recall you were preparing for a quince?
I was.
Was it for yours?
Yes.
How would you have been at that time?
I was like 17. I was so my six. It was actually for sweet 16, but I had did my sweet 16. I'm right. Yeah, my sweet 16 a year later. So yeah, that was the year that I did my sweet 16. That
Where
it
were
was
you,
the time.
where were you doing your practice at?
Confluence Park.
Is that here in Bear County?
I'm pretty sure.
Do you recall who you were practicing with?
Yes.
Who?
My friend Jaren, my brother, my friend Brianna, and my friend Angie, and my friend Joe.
Your brother, is that Chris?
Yes,
At some point, did y'all take a break from the practice?
we did.
We heard testimony that the guys went for a walk.
Mhm.
What did you and the other females do?
Me and the females just stayed there and waited till they got back. And we were just taking a break. They said they were gonna work on the gym, so we were fine with it. So we waited there, and when they came back, they were like, yo, what? I was like, what happened? And they were telling me that some guy went up to them, and I was like, who? And then that's when we see the guy and his girlfriend come up to us at the same time. We're all in a group together when they came back from walking the trail.
So the guy that came up to y'all, do you see him in the courtroom today?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you identify by an article of clothing?
Yeah.
Okay, here. And what color shirt is he wearing?
White.
And so the guy came up to you and your group. Were
Yes.
all of the guys back there when you got there?
Yes. Mhm.
What was the guy saying when he came up, or was he saying anything?
He didn't say anything until he got closer to us. And he was like, hey. And then that's when all the guys turned around, and then that's when I was behind them. And I was like, who are they? Who are they? I was asking all the boys that. And they're like, we don't know him. We saw him on the trail. And he just kept asking us for a lighter. We didn't have one. And I was like, then why is he coming up to us? And he just continued yelling at us, like loud. because we didn't have a lighter, and then his girlfriend started yelling at us because we didn't give him a lighter. Well, we're minors, what did you expect for us to have a lighter? But anyways,
Okay, and so he's yelling and he's walking up to you.
yes, and then that's when eventually he takes off like something from his arm, and then he pulls out a knife on all of us.
When he was yelling, was he yelling at anyone in particular?
The boys.
And what were the boys? Were they saying or doing anything back?
Yeah, they were telling him to get back and get away from us.
And then you said he pulled out a knife.
Hmm.
Do you remember what the defendant was wearing at that time?
I remember him wearing a white shirt and jeans, and I remember his girlfriend wearing a spaghetti strap and leggings.
And so he pulled out a knife. Who was he pointing the knife at?
The boys. He was pointing at Jaren.
Did he say anything when he pulled out the knife?
He was telling him to give him his phone, and he asked for all of us to give us like our phones, but we all got our phones, but Jaren left his on the side, like on the seat that was there. And I guess he saw it, and he asked for all of our phones, and he saw Jaren's phone there. He ended up taking Jaren's, and he took off.
Was he saying anything when he took off?
No.
Um,
Jaren tried going after him, but we couldn't find him after that because he had already ran with the phone.
I'll pass the instruction.
Defense?
This one, so when the boys decide, first of all, do you remember what day this was?
It was somewhere in June 2019. Don't really remember the day, but I just remember what month it was in.
You remember what time it was?
Yes,
What time is it?
it was like 5 to 6:30, somewhere around that time.
All right, and so y'all have been practicing dancing, is that correct?
Yes,
And y'all decided to take a break,
yes,
and then the three boys decide they're gonna go for a walk.
yes,
And do they go walking down this trail?
yes.
Is it paved or is it just regular dirt or where they're walking on the trail?
It was just a trail around the park.
I know, but the trail, is it paved like
Yes.
walkway?
Yeah,
How long were they gone?
not even 10 minutes.
Well, about how long do you think it was? If it was not less than 10 minutes?
How long it was?
Were you even paying attention?
Yes, I was actually. Well, when I was sitting there waiting for them, they said they were just gonna go for a walk. It wasn't that long. They just came back like right after that happened. After they came up to us, I mean, they have went up to my brother. My brother, as soon as that, like they came up, went up to him, he came back. And that's when he told us, and it was not that long.
I'm sorry. Your brother was with the other two guys, right?
Yes.
Okay, so your brother came back before the other two?
No, they all came back. Well, Jaren came back after, like, I guess, I don't really remember, but I guess they came back. Joe and Chris came back first, and then it was Jaren.
And you know, it's a long time ago, so it's okay to just say you really don't really remember. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So ultimately, all the boys came back together.
Yes.
However long it took, right? And y'all are all standing in the pavilion, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you say somebody started coming at you, a male and a female, right? And were they talking to y'all, or were they yelling at y'all, or how was it?
Right before they walked up to us, they were mumbling to each other. We didn't know what they were saying, but we saw them like walking towards us. And that's when I told the boys, I was like, hey, who's that behind you? I was like, do you know them? And that's when they came up to us and asked us for a lighter, again, after we told them no the first time around.
Okay. So when you say the first time around, were you on the walk with the boys?
No,
So,
I'm not meaning we as in me, I'm talking about us and the boys.
okay,
Yes.
but I need to know what you know, what you experienced personally,
Okay,
not
so
what somebody else told you.
waiting with the girls there, that's when the boys came back. And that's when, like, not even 2 minutes later, I see the couple walk up. And then they asked us again, they asked us girls first again. And we told them no, and then that's when the boys, like, they were like right in front of us. While they were like asking us again, and I was like, no, we don't have a lighter. My brother was telling them continuously again, we don't have a lighter, and to stop asking us. They didn't listen.
So how many times did they ask you for a lighter?
Probably about 4 times. 3 or 4 times.
Now, when y'all are standing there at the, and I'm assuming this is at the pavilion, is that correct?
Yes,
So was it 3 boys and 3 girls?
yes,
And there were some adults in the area, weren't there?
no,
None at all. Okay. And so when y'all are standing there before these people come up to you, are y'all standing in a straight line? Are y'all standing in a circle? How
we're
are
just standing like spread out, bunched up together.
So if somebody said, I was in front, 2 guys behind me and 3 girls behind them, that would be wrong. Like in a triangle type of thing, that would be wrong.
I'm not understanding.
Well, if somebody testified, they were standing in front,
Mhm.
2 guys were standing behind them, then the 3 girls were standing behind them. From what your testimony, your recollection is that was not correct, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so were y'all standing just in a big group or were y'all standing in a straight line?
No, we're standing just in a big group and the boys were standing right in front of us.
Okay, so y'all were behind the boys.
Yes.
Now, my understanding is there were some park benches there, concrete
Yes.
benches. Okay, were those behind you or in front of you?
And behind me.
Behind you?
Yeah, because that's when I got up. That's because I was sitting down when they came up to us. And then that's when I stood up.
Were all the people sitting down, all the kids sitting down?
No, it was only 2 of us girls that were standing up, and then only Chris and Jaren were standing up in front of me.
And so these people come up to you, is that correct?
Yes,
You said something about something with the left arm. What was that? What were they?
I don't know what he picked up, but he had picked up his left arm, but like if he was trying to like hold on to something, but I don't know what it was.
But you could see it.
Yes,
Okay. And so he did something crazy with his arm. And then he came at y'all. Did he take his shirt off?
yes,
He did? When did he take his shirt off?
when he was coming closer to us.
Okay. So what else did he do that you didn't mention when he was coming closer to you?
Pretty much everything I said.
Okay, so at some point in time, did you see anything in his hand?
Yes, that's when I saw the knife in his hand. He had got it from his wife, actually, I guess his girlfriend. He kept saying his wife. He had got the knife from his wife. I don't know where he got the knife from, but
Okay, did you see him get the knife from somebody?
yes, from his wife. His wife handed it to him.
You saw her hand it to
Mhm.
him. So you didn't see it come out of his pocket?
So honestly, I don't remember. I just remember her having it and then giving it to him.
So I just want to be very clear. Your recollection is he got it from somebody else, he did not have it.
He did have it, he just got it handed to him.
No, but I'm saying he didn't have it on his body, he got it from somebody else.
Correct.
Did you know what kind of a knife it was?
It was just a raggedy knife. It just looked like I had a bunch of duct tape on it. I didn't really see it,
You didn't
like,
see-
like the handle of it, but I saw the knife, like it was plain and clear because it was white out.
So you don't know if it was a switchblade or a pocket knife or anything else?
I don't know what kind of knife it was.
And so you say the benches were behind you. And Jaren, where did he put the phone
Right next to me.
to you?
He put it right next to me, because he was standing right in front of me, so he put it right down, right next to me.
Okay. And then he faced the person that had the knife.
Yes.
Okay. Was he gonna fight it?
He was telling him to back away and get away from us.
Jaren was.
Yes.
Okay, so Jaren was gonna defend you, right?
Yes.
And how did the phone get taken?
As soon as he got closer to us, because he started pointing the knife at Jaren, and Jaren started stepping back. And when Jaren stepped back, he was able to get the phone. He saw the phone, Jaren's phone sitting right next to me, so he had an advantage to take it.
So the phone's on the bench and it gets taken.
Mhm.
And then the man, how does he leave?
He literally walks out fast, but like running in a way, so we won't be able to catch him. And then like 2 minutes after that, that's when the boys started running after him, and we couldn't find him after that.
Was he saying anything when he ran off?
I don't recall.
Who called the police?
I did. Well, yes, I did.
How long after this happened did you call the police?
Like right after it happened.
Did you call anybody else?
Right after I called the police, I called my mom.
Did your mom show up?
My stepdad did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
State?
Blanca, do you remember if the defendant said anything about him living in the area?
No,
No, you don't remember, or no, he didn't say anything?
I don't remember.
Your Honor, may I have a moment to show the witness her statement to help refresh your memory?
Yes, is this a video or is
It's a
this?
video, yes, Your Honor. It won't be long.
All right, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, well, let me have a state and defense approach, please. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you all a short break, just so that we can take up a matter quickly, and then I'm going to bring you back in. We're going to be here till 12:30. Then I'm going to give you your lunch break until 2 p.m. But I am anticipating that you all will probably get a chance to deliberate on this case today, okay? Now, you've heard some evidence in this case. You're not allowed to discuss it with each other. You're not allowed to begin deliberating. I will let you know when you can begin your deliberations. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna have you all back here at 12:10. So we can make sure that my. All right, everyone. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, State.
Thank you, Judge. Blanca, after having a chance to listen to your statement, you recall if the defendant said anything as he was walking away?
Yes,
What was he saying?
that he lives in the area.
Okay. And then, just to be clear, this took place at the park, correct?
Yes,
Did any part of this take place at a convenience store?
don't recall.
Sorry, what was that?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you remember, I guess, going to a convenience store while the robbery occurred?
I remember my friend going to the store.
Okay. Was that, and did that involve the defendant at all?
No.
Your Honor, we'll pass the witness.
All right, defense.
No, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your
All right, State, you can step down. Thank you for coming. State, call your next witness.
Honor. The state recalls Jaren and Papara.
All right, you've previously been sworn in. Just have a seat. State.
Judge, I just had a few more questions. Defense asked you earlier about photo lineup being presented to you. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Do you remember if you were able to identify someone in that photo lineup?
yes,
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1. Can you tell us if that's your name and signature on there?
it is.
Okay, and look through this. Is this your handwriting?
It is.
And does this appear to be the photo lineup that was presented to you?
It is.
Your Honor, and does it appear to be in the same, like, the same lineup that was presented to you back then?
The lineup of the pictures?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this on roll for State's Exhibit 1 in evidence.
All right, defense, any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to.
Do you wish to take the witness on voir dire?
I do.
You may begin.
All right, sir. When did you look at this photo lineup?
When it came to my house,
When was that?
I don't remember. I don't remember the exact date.
And how was this photo lineup presented to you?
In order, I do remember it being the last one. I do remember
I'm
that.
not asking you that. I said, how was it given to you?
What do you mean?
Did the officer lay it out in a big grouping?
No, it was one by one.
He gave them to you one by one.
I went through them one by one.
Okay, and how did he give them?
In a pot.
In a pot.
Yes.
Okay, was he sitting there when he
He was watching me look through them.
he was sitting there watching? So he didn't hand them to you and walk away.
No,
Did he say anything to you while he was doing this?
no,
Did he tell you to look at any specific pictures?
no,
Did they come into bed? These pictures come in an individual packet, like an individual vanilla folder or anything like that?
no.
So you just picked them out, you just looked at them all and you picked the one that you thought,
The one I knew, it was it.
no objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 2.
1.
1.
Yes.
All right, that will be admitted into evidence.
May I show it to the jury, Judge?
All right, but just one moment, wasn't there a state 1 for Officer Sylvester?
8.
8, okay.
Letter A.
A. Can I have parties approach? All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted, and you may publish.
Thank you, Judge. Jaren, is this your signature that we're looking at here?
It is.
And under statement of certainty and identification comments, is this your handwriting?
It's
And can you read what you wrote there?
the scar. The scar in facial shape, his hair was exactly like this one.
And then which photo did you identify?
That was on the turn.
And looks like this is number 3, correct?
Correct.
And was that the photo you identified?
Correct.
It looks like this was done on June 20th of 2019.
Correct.
So that was 2 to 3 weeks after the offense happened.
Sir.
And Confluence Park, is that here in Dare County?
Yes, sir.
There was some testimony as far as regarding the convenience store. Did any of this take place at a convenience store?
No, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, we'll pass the witness.
All right, defense.
When this gentleman came up to you and started yelling, were you going to defend yourself?
I felt like I had no other choice.
Okay, so you were gonna fight with him?
If he was gonna fight with me, throw the first punch, yes.
Okay, so you're gonna wait for somebody to punch you first?
If he was going to harm me, I would defend myself.
So you were gonna defend yourself and fight with this person?
If I had to.
Okay. But you didn't,
Because I didn't, no.
because you didn't have to?
He brought a knife out. I'm not gonna fight a guy with a knife, sir.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
State.
No further questions, sir.
All right, is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you your break now. We'll come back at 2 p.m. That'll give you a chance to enjoy the heat that is in San Antonio. I don't know if it's 100 degrees yet or not, but there is, of course, a cafeteria downstairs. But wherever you go, even if you're going what I call off campus, which is away from the courthouse, make sure your badge is on, because sometimes attorneys go to different locations around the courthouse. And I want to make sure that no one is speaking to you potentially about this case. You are not allowed to discuss what you've heard amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Again, I don't think this is going to be in the newspaper or anything of that nature. But if you see anything or someone starts trying to speak with you about it, just walk away or tell them you're a juror, okay? And so we'll be back at 2. That's when we'll start up. And you also will find places along the Riverwalk to eat as well. All right, everyone, please